Let's start a panel. Hey, hi. So dare I say it, a pretty full house, doki doki motherfuckers. I am Jared Petty, director of, digital publication for limited run games. Wow. Woo! But yes, I'm here from Limited Run, and I am joined by, on my left, your right, a panel of luminaries, gameologists from all fields of life. We're going to start immediately to my left with an introduction and head down the line here.
My name's Rob Dunlavey. I did some artwork for Arzette. You might know the world map and some of the level art, but I also, the luminary part of me is that I worked on the original design and level paintings and maps for the original CDI, Link, and Zelda titles.
An artist among us, truly.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Seth. I made Arzette.
Hey, I'm also Seth. I did not make Arzette.
You're the other Seth.
The other Seth.
Hi, I'm Nadia Oxford. I'm with the Axe of the Blood God podcast, RPG podcast, and happy to be here.
Axe of the Blood God!
Yeah. Great pod.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ash, or AshSaidHi on Twitch, and I've played Arzette twice.
Oh.
Twice in a row.
Who here's played it? Show of hands. Nice.
Okay, so you keep hearing about Arzette, and you may wonder why that game's coming up. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get
this
there.
panel is about the CDI Zeldas, but it's intrinsically tied to Arzette, and beyond Arzette to some ways that we might think about video games in a way that we haven't before, but that's a little farther down the panel.
Yep.
So the name of this panel is officially Nintendo Gone Mad, but that's just the one that I could get put in the catalog. The real name of this panel is... That one time Nintendo lost their goddamn minds. Let's do the very, very brief surface level recount of this, and then we're going to get into our panelists here. So Nintendo, by and large, takes a lot of pride in kind of making their own stuff, right? Now in this modern world we live in, Mario and Link and Zelda and all the rest of them are kept under lock and key and protected by the almighty approval process on high of Nintendo in Kyoto. But it was not always the case. There were times that Nintendo allowed their first-party properties to be played with by partners. For example, Hudson Soft, who created Super Mario Brothers.
Look at those
Special.
frames.
This is Mario on a PC-88, which isn't capable of scrolling, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And this is a real official-ass video game. That Nintendo allowed to exist in Japan. It was made by Hudson, and it was an official partnership. And yes, it looks ludicrous, but it was a little less ludicrous then. It was just amazing to see something that looked this good on a PC-88, frankly, and ran this well. So despite the fact that it looks incredibly awkward now, it was kind of impressive then. We have other examples of times that Nintendo let partners make things. For example, again, here with Hudson, Punchball Mario Bros, which is a entirely different take on Mario Bros. Any Mario Brothers fans here? Please. Yeah, arcade game. Well, this is one about Mario kicking a ball around, and again, so Nintendo did, occasionally allow partners to make games. They would hand their properties out. Yeah, again, Japanese PC, not the most powerful, but we'll move on from that and never look back. And of course, early on in its history, Nintendo started to loan out its IP to other developers like HAL. Now we have that today with the folks that make, things like Mario Party or some of the Camelot, Mario sports games, and that's pretty regular now. HAL was the very first one. They were allowed to do things like put Mario in
Oh,
a
it's
pinball
so
game.
good. I
Yes.
love Mario Pinball.
Classic.
Yeah, this is a game with a Nintendo branding, but it's a Mario game, or pardon, it's a Nintendo branding, but it's completely a HAL game. It was made by I don't think Iwata worked on pinball, but he worked on some of the others. Sometimes it worked out.
Yes.
Give it up for Kirby.
Kirby.
From that relationship, we got, Satoru Iwata. We got Kirby. We got,
Yes.
we got some good stuff out of it. But sometimes when Nintendo loans things... And that's what we're here to talk about today. So how'd this happen? All right, Nintendo. Once upon a time, Nintendo made a PlayStation. Hey, look at that thing.
Hey.
Look at that handsome lad.
Look at that heritage auction right there.
Absolute unit.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what Secret of Mana was supposed to be on.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, it's what Secret of Mana was supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Expound, Nadia.
And because basically they had to, once the whole thing was canceled, as we'll go into, they had to basically put the whole thing on a cartridge, which left the game with some problems. But I always wondered what the CD version would be like.
Oh, man. That's one of
so
my
it-
favorite games.
It's such a good game.
Yeah, if you've never looked at this thing, look at the PlayStation controller, look at the SNES controller, and you'll be like, oh shit, that's how that happened. There really was going to be
Even
that.
the logo, the PlayStation font is right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 4 colors, it was all going to be that. And then it didn't, because Nintendo was like, just kidding, we don't think the CD thing's going to work out. So this is from the New York Times in 1991. Sony one day announces their partnership with Nintendo at CES, and the next day Nintendo announces that partnership is over and they're partnering with Philips.
Yeah, it didn't go over well.
Yeah, it went real well. Then Nintendo teamed up with Philips, then they didn't. They're like, just kidding, Philips, we're not going to make a CD-ROM at all. We're going to make cartridges and an N64 and do our own thing. But they had this contract with Philips for this CD thing that didn't happen. And thus were born 3 of the most special video games.
Specialist doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah, really 4 if we count Hotel Mario. Now, and that's the short story of how we got this bullshit. Okay, this is the part where I pretty much stop talking and it's time for the panel, for the rest of the show. We now got the very short version of what happens here. We get this bullshit happening. Now we got a group of experts here that are going to answer a
Graphics.
few questions about this whole thing. I mean, look, just animation magic. That should be familiar.
What kind of magic?
Right? A little bit?
Very familiar.
Term you've heard before? We're going to cut away here and do a little show and tell time.
Ooh.
What? So today, this fella shows up. Seth found, I don't know, somewhere, just found this dude that's here on our panel. Is
Is that how that happened?
that how it happened?
That's how it happened, yes.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yes, I got an email from Seth, and I think Arzette was still
Very
beyond
far
the
off,
horizon, but looming more and more in Seth's imagination. And Seth talked about his interest and love and appreciation. It sort of oozed out between the lines in the email and in a conversation, I think, about Link and Zelda and CDI. And I was intrigued. I'll leave it at that.
And you're intrigued. Now you came today with these things that we're looking at here, which I've never seen. I'm wondering how many people have seen in the last 25, 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
These are documents that you have because your role, Rob, give us the show and tell. What happened?
So I started freelancing for Spinnaker Software in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in like 1991 or so, and I worked under a guy named Dale Descharon on some titles, and I didn't know it. I was just out of art school. I don't play games. I didn't then, and I'm afraid I don't now. So be gentle. But there are things that I did really love that came into the design of Link and Zelda, and I think that Dale had a real appreciation for those things. He never, in a sense, told us how things should look or the look that he wanted in terms of game design of what is a good game. He came from a background of education. I believe he was a creative writing teacher, an English teacher.
Oh, cool.
So he's really involved in kids' imagination. And that was interesting to me. He did a game called Below the Root, I believe. Maybe some of you know it. I think it's
It's one of my favorite video games.
kind of
Oh, yeah, we actually
text
talked
and
about that on
images
Bloodgone,
and, you
yeah.
know, very, very, I don't know, 85, I don't know what year it was.
It's one of the earliest Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got the script for this game and just started developing these drawings, which you see here. These are original graphite drawings that I've kept since then. And they're hewing to kind of the basic parameters that I had for the number of screens that would scroll, right? 3, 2, or a single room where a boss might be vertical or horizontal. And then just some description of it. I was inspired by a Disney movie, Pinocchio, Sleeping Beauty, some of those old backgrounds by Gustav Tenggren. My background is as a painter and a fine artist, and I just love the sense of light and magical beauty in those backgrounds for those animated movies. We wanted to get a lot of sort of multicultural stuff in there, so I love looking at art. Anything that's visual, I consume. So you'll see that in some of these images here, sort of Japanese style, Chinese style mountains here, and then these funny sort of polyglot structures that could be, you know, Asian, Romanesque, Near East Asian, just all kinds of things there.
I always did appreciate how I forget, the Darias, I think they're called, actually looked like the character art, like they were supposed to, because Darias were in Zelda too, and besides being a pain in the ass, they were also very pixelated, but they always had very interesting character artwork, so I always thought, like, if nothing else, I liked how they were represented in this game. I like alligators, so.
Now, you're in no way responsible for the abomination that just popped up on the screen.
No, and I didn't design the sprites. I call these sprites at all. I may have done some early sort of character sketches, but it was quickly taken over by another team of like maybe 2 or 3 people who designed Link and Zelda and all the other characters. And everyone on the team, we were all sort of moving down the track together at the same time, so there wasn't a lot of cross-fertilization in a sense. Once the character designs were handed over to the animators, they did their own thing. We were stuck. We had to use it and make the best of it because there was really no looking back in creating the game.
Thank you. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Obviously, just these images. There's others too you brought. We'll have to show off later. I really do think it's just wonderful having you here. Also, before we move forward, I think these games, there's 2 things that are universally agreed upon about them. I may hurt Seth number 1's feelings here.
Seth number 1.
But
Number 1, buddy.
Sorry.
Don't
okay, it's
sweat
like
it.
the apostles. There's Seth and Seth the Lesser.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. But one, it's generally agreed on that these games are terrible. That they're very bad. You may take umbrage to that in a second, but they're not optimal. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I spent some time with a CDI. One of the nice things about working where I do at Limited Run is that if it's old and it's a video game, it's in the building, which is kind of amazing. And so I pulled out a CDI, actually a portable CDI created by Sony with its own built-in screen, because that happened, and played some Zelda, and damn.
Yeah.
But the second thing that's agreed on is that the backgrounds are beautiful.
Yeah, they are, for
They're
sure.
gorgeous. The art's great.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
well done.
Give it up.
He deserves it. Yes.
So, you know, why was it bad? I mean, because people trying to make their first game together in a hurry with the property that's not their own, things don't usually work out very well. And the CDI barely had a controller. It looked like a
Yeah,
heart
I
monitor.
actually picked one up for the first time last year. I've never held such a piece of junk in my life.
Oh my God.
It was so bad. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't the animation for the Zelda game one of the first compilations between like a Russian company and an American company, like after the wall fell, like it happened
Yes.
real fast.
Yeah.
So there you
Yeah.
go, it's historical. Education.
Yeah, it was a partnership between Dale and a man named Igor Razbov, who had bought an animation studio in St. Petersburg, Russia. And there were about 5 or 6 people. They came over in the summer, my guess is 92, maybe 93, and learned the American way of making a CDI video game, which is,
Yeah.
we're learning ourselves tonight.
Yeah, I remember watching the animation and sort of connecting the dots. I was like, this looks very kind of like Soviet era animation. It's very fluid and there's a lot of big movements. And then I was reading the credits and I was like, oh, that's because it is.
Yeah, it's an odd little thing. I mean, the CDI itself, we haven't contextualized that very much, and I don't think it's really the place to go too long in that. But the CDI barely knew what it was. By the time it came out, it was already technologically antiquated. The pace at which technology moved in the early 90s is kind of hard, I think, to express now.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
at least the way in our day-to-day consumer electronics visibility.
Yeah.
Things were changing so fast. And the CDI, when it came out, was already obsolete and overpriced. Plus, they didn't want to make games on it. There is a damn good port of Lemmings on the CDI. If you don't have anything else
That's
to
a
play on-
system seller right there, buddy.
There, yeah. And there's the weirdest version of Tetris you've ever seen. And
They have a
beyond that-
circle.
It's one of the best.
So, but we're not going to talk about that. What we're going to talk about here is some questions about, okay, we have these unlicensed CDI games. There were 3 of them about Zelda, 1 about Mario. We're here to talk about the Zeldas. They were all 3 terrible. 1 was top-down, 2 were side-scrolling. All of them were not a lot of fun. So why is there a room full of people here talking about them today?
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you people?
The
I
only
don't know. Wand of
that-
Gamelon was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I like the music. The music was really
Music
good.
is very good. Yeah.
Now we're finding things to like about them. Wait, could that tie in?
Ah.
Questions? Number 1, it's not like anybody ever actually played these games. I mean, who in this room has played these games?
Wow. Everyone in the
I
world
did
who's ever
play
played
them.
these games is in this room.
I'm impressed.
That's great.
What a bunch of celebrities.
Very few people played them, and we don't really regard them as some kind of lost classic. So question 1 for the panel. Everybody just jump in and talk from here on, because I'm going to shut up. Why have they endured in the cultural consciousness?
I think it's because basically you had the earliest YouTubers who would like, not even YouTube, but like, you know, the old independent shows, like Angry Video Game Nerd is probably the best example. Like they played the games and like, you know, what a shitload of fuck. And I love the nerd, don't get me wrong, but like, that's what we all saw. And then around the same time, YouTube came into being and people just thought it was really funny to upload, not just like uploading the cutscenes, but they do something like upload like 20 hours of squat-a-la and it'd just be squat-a-la, squat-a-la, squat-a-la over and over again until YouTube finally implemented a rule, nothing over 10 hours. So, okay, 10 hours of squat-a-la, squat-a-la. So I think that's the reason. I mean, I just like, I immediately think squat-a-la when I think those games. So how do you forget a word like squat-a-la?
Exactly. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, audience, but I believe in the YouTube poop era,
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
That's the word.
and
Did y'all just clap for YouTube poop?
that's right.
Listen, we grew up with that. We grew up with that stuff. You know what
Give it
I
up
kind
for
of
poop, audience.
God, I wish.
I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old, and I was actually, watching a playthrough of this, and he came down the stairs, and he just started quoting along with it, like he was there, like he had read the script and committed it to memory.
It must be so weird to have kids. Like,
Yes, exactly, especially me. I think we can all agree. But yeah, so like for whatever reason, that sort of age group who grew up on YouTube poop, like this is a big part of them, and that in Mama Luigi.
Mama
Yeah.
Luigi.
You know, I'm going to interrupt for a moment. I said I wasn't, but I think it's about time to invite a special guest up to the stage for a moment.
Okay.
If you don't mind, Jeff, do you mind coming up? Just right here, please. Seth, why don't we introduce Jeff here?
So, because you brought up eat to poop, right? And how quoting, right?
Yes.
I thought it was only appropriate that maybe we have the original voice of CDI Link,
Yes.
Jeffrey Rabb.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff.
My first question for you, do you still got it?
Maybe. If somebody want to give me a line, is there a famous line that anybody remembers? Well, all right. Gee, it sure is boring around here.
Better than Shakespeare.
It's been 30 years since I said that, I think.
Anybody else got a request?
I'm sorry, what? I still didn't hear you, sir. That's what you want me to say? I don't remember the script at all. The greatest thing about voiceover work is you never have to memorize the line.
Oh, yeah.
No. Gee, I'm so hungry, I could eat an octaron.
Okay, that's beautiful. Thank you.
That's incredible.
Jeff, obviously, I really, really appreciate you coming by here today. I'm thrilled that you were willing to make time for this. You were around for how this thing came together. Any particular anecdote you want to share?
I don't think any of us knew really. We were just we were actors from the North Shore, many of us, and somebody had just given us a call and said, hey, you want to do this? And we had no idea what it was. Never saw the game until I think when we came in for the second game, I think the first game, they showed us some stuff, but we never saw it, forgot all about it. And I was a teacher for a long time, and every beginning of the year we do icebreakers, get to know each other. And so our icebreaker was 2 truths and a lie, as if everybody played that game. Yeah. So one of my truths was I was the voice of Link for a Zelda game, and this was like 2015, 14, somewhere around there. And my students were like, yeah, whatever. I was like, no, I swear I was. And that was literally probably the first time I had thought of it, like even remembered doing that gig.
Really?
And the next thing I know, like a few days later, students are coming in and saying things like, sure is boring in here. And I didn't even know I was like, what is going on? So finally they sort of let me in on the joke, and that's when I learned about YouTube poop and all that.
That's when he learned about memes.
Yeah. So I had no idea of the infamy until very recently.
Jeff, thank you. I'm going to move on back to the questions for the panel here in a second, but I would personally be very moved before you head back to your seat if you would say one line for me, just specially, if you don't mind. This isn't from the game. I just want to hear the voice of Link say, do you think love can bloom on a battlefield?
Oh, God, Ryan.
Do you think love can bloom on a battlefield?
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Give it up for Jeff, everybody. Yeah. Oh my God, my day is fucking made.
Yeah.
I know, where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, we're going to go back
talk about
to
Zelda
cultural
CDI.
consciousness. And y'all were talking there. Voices came up. It was the perfect moment to ask Jeff to come up there.
Yep.
But I know we got some voices down here at the end of the table that haven't got a chance to say as much. I'd really love to hear.
Yeah, you know what I think about why they've endured? I think also because Nintendo never acknowledges them. So it's
Yeah.
our job to kind of remind people that they
Yeah.
exist. And I think it's really important because, they should acknowledge them. They're part of, games that they made, so why not?
If they can acknowledge Virtual Boy, they can acknowledge Zelda Seedy.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
Come on, Nintendo. Yeah.
So we've got that. We've talked about some of the reasons. Seth the Greater.
Oh, damn.
Sorry about that,
It's okay. I didn't make a game.
Yeah, Seth the Greater. I mean, you made a video game. Oh, you didn't just make a video. You took these games, and not that anyone would ever look for this on the internet, but I've heard that you changed them and made them more playable at one point.
You mean like fan remasters, right?
Fan remasters of the Zelda. Did you do that at some point?
Allegedly.
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 Out there.
No, he
So-
didn't intend.
One of us may have played those.
Oh, yeah? Could you tell me what you thought about them?
Allegedly?
I think that it was one of the most fun things I ever played. Yeah.
Seth, why did you choose? So we talk about cultural consciousness. Why
Yeah.
did you choose to take this thing, this meme, and turn it into something you spent a significant amount of time remastering, fan remaking?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously I saw a lot of potential in those games, right? Like, just, like that era I just felt was like really like underutilized. But for me, my history started with YouTube poop and stuff, right? Like the memes. But, and I was joking around with some friends, and I was like, hey, Twilight Princess HD is coming out. What if Zelda CDI HD was real? And then I was like, I might be able to do that, though. And as a game developer, I would have problems finishing projects, right? Like a lot of creative people can probably understand that. So it was also an excuse just to sort of finish a project for once. So it's a joke taken too far, really. But in the process of making those remasters, I really saw like the story like that you so beautifully described, Rob. Like there's really like the circumstances weren't like perfect, right? Like every game has its story, like no matter what, like even the worst games, like the games that are just, considered like the very worst. So, I sort of had like a little bit of like motivation to want to do them justice just a little bit. So that's why I dedicated those fan projects to, Dale Descheron, because he unfortunately passed away some years ago, and he was the original director of the Zelda CDI games. So, I really do. I feel like it deserved its fair shake, I guess.
That was great. Ash, you mentioned the games being kind of suppressed by Nintendo, like
Yeah.
and so there's a mystery. We have to keep them going. Do we really have to? Like,
I
Yeah.
think so. I mean, they're part of, the story of Zelda. It was a moment in time. So somebody made the decision for these games to be made. So why not,
And it's sort of like the the children of the PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't exist if that whole deal fell apart.
Exactly.
It was a strange time for licensing Nintendo. I mean, let's not forget the Mario movies. Like back then, it was East versus West. The communication between the two was so much slower.
Yeah.
And so you just got some wild stuff happening, and Nintendo could pretend. It was much easier for Nintendo to pretend that something didn't exist.
Yeah.
yeah, I love that you said that. The Japan to America pipeline at that time. Think about a pre-email world. Like that's where this
Yeah.
is happening. This is a time where, like, for box art, if you're going to get the box art made in Japan, there was some giant ass painting someone made, and then they had to put it on a plane or a boat and bring it to America, like, to get it printed in American factories, to like get scanned it. Like that's so weird to think about. It all had to happen over the course of so much time, and it was a time when games were cheaper to make too.
I'm just picturing like the Contra box art going getting registered at Ellis Island.
Right, customs, yeah.
Let's look at another question. Is there anything worth learning from these three abominations, or anything worth loving? Ooh. Open to the panel.
That's a good question.
So on Tuesday night before this show, I started streaming Wand of Gamelon, and we all had so much fun with it. Like, everybody that was watching me play it was like, this game is genuinely fun. If you know where to go, like, there were people in the chat who were like, no, you go here, you go there. So people knew where to go. They know the game. And I was playing it, and I was like, okay, maybe I should shut this off and go to sleep for my flight that's in 5 hours. But somebody was like, oh, you're almost done with the game. You're 75% done. So I was like, all right, no sleep till beat. So we completed the whole game in that one night for Wand of Gamelon.
Wow.
But through the whole time, what we had the most fun with was watching the cutscenes, how humorous they were, and listening to the music, and, you know, the backtracking, the fact that you had to go here, get an item, go back. And, I mean, essentially, there's a lot of game design that incorporates aspects like that, you know, Metroidvanias and stuff like that. So
Right.
I think there is a lot to learn from, you know, watching that gameplay and how it evolved, you know, as you're playing it. So, yeah, absolutely.
I would like to add something too. You know, irony has been around as long as humans have been around, but I think that in this period of time where things are happening so fast technologically, and you're getting people from very different disciplines together to create a immersive, interactive story that works with the senses in different ways and with your physical response to it, is that there just wasn't time for irony. There was no space for irony in this game. And so when you play it this way, chances are you might just touch upon that fact. Maybe that's a kind of nostalgia, that these games were somehow more pure. I don't know, but I guess I would sum up sort of a basic thought about our youth and the fact that these games were made 30 years ago, and there seems to be a culture that has grown up and seems to be kind of stable. It feeds itself. Is that this great phrase, maybe you've heard it, is that, oh shoot, now I'm going to get it wrong. The time you spend wasting time is not wasted time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, you speak of this sort of the love of irony, and I think one of the things that I do find appealing, like, look, I don't want to play these games where you have to grind for rubies. Yeah, so that you could buy 5 bombs that you could, anyway. But there's a sweetness there. There's a complete lack of cynicism. Like, this is a project that was put together by a group of people who maybe some better management on the part of the IP holder would have helped out a lot. But like, that's what is appealing, is that it's not content that was just created by a committee. It was a group of artists and programmers and actors getting together, making a thing, doing their best, and, you know, it didn't coalesce, and that's fine. You know, have you ever made like Jell-O and it never turns to Jell-O, and then you just have to drink a whole bowl of
You don't have to. You can
you
pour it down the
waste
sink.
Jell-O in your house? Whoa, in this economy? But yeah, so that's what I think. I think it's just there's a sweetness there that you don't probably
I
don't
just try to imagine being in like some small American like third-rate software house, and one day like Phillips comes to you, is like, yeah, can you make us a Zelda game in 6 months? You're just like 1991. You're like, what?
There is no reality, no universe where a game like this will ever exist under Nintendo's watch ever again. So it's really kind of special for that reason alone. But when people struggle against games like this, they get a sense of accomplishment out of it. And I think it's worth pointing out, actually, that the one game we do not see any nostalgia for in this trilogy or quadrilogy of hell is the live action Zelda
Zelda's
one.
Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, apparently, I'm guessing that's just too dull, too unplayable. The animated games that we're seeing here, they have, of course, gorgeous backgrounds. They have great music. And they do have that personality, as you said. There is something that is not cynical about them, whereas that live action Zelda is very much like, okay, we're cashing this in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just one interesting omission that I think is worth pointing out.
I think the live action one just took itself too seriously.
Yeah.
And then especially when you're cutting from like one scene to the other and it loses the music. Like music is such an important part of the gaming experience. Like when you have no music, no good sound design, it's like, yeah, this is not a finished game. Like,
I am
it's
so
unplayable.
glad you said that. Yeah, the game feels undone.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
It,
not
it
finished.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest question for the three that we're always talking about is, if it wasn't Zelda, would people hate it as much?
No, absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, like if
But I
it,
don't think that we would be
Talking about it.
you don't think it would be memorable either?
No.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, I think about like, I played Infiltrator on the NES as a child 1,000 times. That game sucks. We play bad things sometimes just because they're put in front of us, right?
I had Muppet
Yeah.
Adventure.
I mean, I love Lagoon, and people are like, that game sucks. I love it.
But yeah, we care because it's Zelda, and we care because James Rolfe's a good comedian and made us laugh, and I think that's a lot of where that comes from. But if I had this game, I would just be sad and tell people about that sad game I had where I had to, every time I bent down to go through a door, I was sad. That's, I don't know. What else we got down there? Anything else on this question? Or
Well, I think it's important to point out the context of CD-ROM anything in
Right.
91 or 2. Like,
Yeah.
we had Macintoshes in our computer lab when I was in high school, and we had Encarta on CD-ROM, and there was a 160 by 240 full motion video of Bob Marley singing one line of a song, and we were like, "You've got to be kidding me, dude! The future is now."
Just him saying one
right.
love over and over again.
Yes, we
one
would
love,
just sit
one
around
love.
in the computer lab, wait, we were supposed to be doing homework, lol, and then we would just watch that over and over and over again because the CD-ROM was this incredible futuristic thing. So I think the excitement of this game being on CD-ROM at the time, maybe Christmas wasn't ruined for someone. Maybe they were pretty excited to be playing something on a CD-ROM, and now it's
Well, they touched the controller and said, "Oh my god."
I was
the
going to say the
controller. My God, we haven't
controller.
even talked about the
Yeah, the
worst
controller's a big
controller.
problem.
Yeah. You can go check it out at the limited run.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
if
yeah.
y'all forgive me a little, self-promotion, but Limited Run made that damn controller again. If you want I know.
And you
We
can
are
get it in
broken,
pink.
We are a broken people at my office. If you want to play video games with a CDI controller, that horrible one-handed round thing,
The spoon.
we have a USB version. It works on Switch and PC. If you want to play Street Fighter 6 with your friends with them, you can. It's amazing. We've done it.
It also looks like you could use it in a hospital setting to load people into an MRI machine.
It does. It totally does.
Yeah. It's like the remote control that doctor uses to look up Hank Hill's butt.
Yeah.
That was a good episode.
All
I
right,
watched
we're
Seth
looking
play Arzette with it, and it's one of the most amazing things.
Oh
I've
yeah,
ever
there's a
seen.
mode. I mean, Seth, because you're a broken man.
Very broken.
We will get to Arzette. You built a mode into Arzette just for the controller, for the
Yep.
terrible.
You can play through the entire game with the spoon.
Oh dear.
AI controls.
Wow.
Moving on. This is just one I had because I made the slideshow. One thing to think about with these games. Zelda is the protagonist of 2 of the 3 CDI Legend of Zelda games, which is exactly 2 more games starring Zelda than Nintendo has ever developed themselves.
Exactly.
Well, if we got Peach, maybe Zelda's next.
Oh, true.
What's that?
If we got Peach, maybe Zelda's next.
Yeah, I mean, we got that super sexist Peach game. Oh wait, we got the new one.
The new one
Yeah.
that just came out.
Yeah, sorry.
Princess Peach Showtime. Princess
I was
Zelda
thinking
Showtime.
about that Tosei one, the Super Princess Peach. So.
Oh, the DS game.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Except for the part that was entirely about moodiness and menstrual periods.
Yeah, but 30 years from now, you just wait.
All right. How do you transform into something terrible into something unterrible? Now, this is for everybody, but I definitely had Seth in mind because we've mentioned Arzette over and over again, you know, because I'm a shameless self-promoter, and Arzette is a game my company published. Arzette is what happens when you make a fan game of, you know, Zelda Seedy, and then you want more.
Right.
And that's what this guy did. So we can all talk about turning something terrible into something unterrible, but I would like to start with Seth.
Yeah, you focus on what works and what doesn't work. Like Ash, you said something about how like Wanda Gamelon was like a early sort of Metroidvania type. I mean, it's more like Wonder Boy or something like that.
Yeah, Wonder
but,
Boy, yeah.
But yeah, like that gameplay loop is inherently like interesting, and the art style is interesting and unique. Like there's a lot to love about those original games, kind of like we covered before. But yeah, just focus on what works and maybe get rid of the stuff that doesn't, like the whole crouching and feeling bad. Yeah, none of that.
Can't have any of that. I just like the fact there's a line where it's like Ganon says, "I'm dying," and Zelda says, "Good." Like
Good.
that's the best thing. That's the best thing she's ever said.
Right. Yes.
Good.
Good.
I mean, that's pretty badass. Again.
I mean, we remember those lines for sure.
Exactly, and not because someone uploaded them to YouTube to play for 20 hours. Good.
Oh, that was going to be my answer to the question. You just upload it to YouTube for 20 hours. So,
Anybody else on transforming terrible things into unterrible? Or
I mean, I think Seth kind of like put it perfectly,
Okay.
and it was somebody who has actually done what the question is. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I defer to Greater Seth.
Greater.
Yeah.
Just
Seth
for
the Elder.
tonight.
Seth the Elder, yes.
So this is what Seth did.
Who made that? A truly
Very
deranged
good.
man.
Very, very good.
And I played this game. I played it in several forms as it went through development, and it's good. It's a good game. And hey, look, Hotel Mario. That was there for a second. Look at that.
I was about to ask you if that was a Hotel Mario shout.
What's that?
I was about to ask. I saw that. I was going to ask if that was a Hotel Mario shout I saw in there.
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
Hotel Mario shot.
Bonus
there.
game.
I do recommend if you choose to play Arzette, and I think you should, that you go to the trouble of getting the full dialogue from the moose in the bar, like forging the sword. That's the best joke in the game, and a lot of people aren't going to see it. Arzette's
you for
fun,
that.
but it does take the things that worked and builds on them, the lush backgrounds, lovely music, and then it fixes the stuff that didn't. Also gives Arzette a gun, and a good American knows that guns make everything safer, so that's what we do.
Jeez.
So, a question for everybody on the panel here. You're all going to play Pretend You're Seth the Game Developer.
Which one?
Pick a
Seth.
terrible or misguided effort that deserves a new lease on life. I
Okay.
want each of you to give me a game that you want to turn into something good.
Okay, I got one.
All right, Ash, what you got?
Bubsy.
Nah. Yes.
Yeah. Bubsy is so cute and like really deserves a second chance
What could
because
possibly go wrong?
yeah,
Possibly go
I
wrong.
mean it's a platformer. Like I'm sure if they like fixed some of the physics and the hitboxes and just
Everything.
everything.
So would you just go for like cute little 2D platformer? Would that be the setup? Or would you-
Yeah.
Okay, so 2D, cute platformer with nice controls, like kind of a Rayman vibe? Or?
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. Yeah, Bubsy. Can you fix Bubsy himself? Like, can you make people like Bubsy?
I think people do like Bubsy. I think people like Bubsy.
Who likes Bubsy?
What up?
It's more than I expected.
What up?
That's more
Bubsy?
than I expected.
I think Bubsy is like Michael Cera. People think they like Bubsy. Yeah.
Michael Cera catching strays.
Nadia, you thinking, or you got one?
I think I'm going with the top of my head. I want to say Mega Man X7. I don't know why it doesn't deserve a chance, so I want to give it one.
You are such a fucking nerd. I love you. I'm like, what video game would you do something with? Mega Man X7. I'm still bitter. What would it take to fix X7?
Well, for one thing, it couldn't decide if it wanted to be 2D or 3D. I'm going right back to 2D. Maybe some graphics that don't look like crap. Maybe a hyena that's not like prone to just coding himself over and over and over again and screaming in your head. But yeah, there's ways I could fix it. Hey, I like Axel. I will defend Axel. I don't care. He can stay, but everyone else has to die in fire. Burn to the ground.
Be burned to the ground? Yeah.
Burn to the ground.
Seth, what do you got?
Ooh, well, I think this might ruffle some feathers because I genuinely like this game to the point where I bought it here because I think the parts of it that are good are 10/10 good. The parts of it that aren't range from like 6 to maybe 3. But Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
good parts of that game
very
rule so
The first
hard.
level?
And,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the parts that aren't
Yeah.
that good. And
I have
think
a-
that could like I just love like there's so much Star Wars lore in there. You're doing the things that you want to be doing in Star Wars, and then you're not.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of annoyed with it. But
We
yeah.
actually rented that game for the N64 when it first came out, and this was back when TVs were like those old tube sort of like pieces of crap.
Yeah. What?
And here's the problem. Like it was as I was playing this game, it was the TV was dying. Everything was getting so dark that I couldn't see the
Yeah.
garbage disposal level. Like it was
Yeah.
just like. And also, I was also playing the train level, and since it was a cartridge-based game, the music, as good as it was very repetitive.
Yes.
And there was like kind of this sting on the train level, and my dad would say, "Are you watching Batman? Like, why does it keep going?"
I remember it did sound like Batman.
It does.
It does. That's before Factor 5 came along and figured out how to do streaming on the N64 cartridges and had good
Legends.
Star Wars music.
But-
okay, Shadows of the Empire I think is a great choice because you're right. It's the definitive Hoth level, but so much of that game is broken. And
Well-
also, it's about a guy named Prince Zizor, and that's just stupid. But
No, it's good. If you beat the game in the credits, it gives you the developer's speed run for the speeder bike level through the canyon. And my friend and I set a goal to beat that. And not only did we beat it, we found a glitch that I cannot replicate now, where we cut like 30 seconds off our time every time. And I have to imagine that I was the best in the world at that level.
You were like, no one else.
At
Who's
one
gonna challenge
point.
you? Who's gonna
Ask my
challenge you?
friend, he'll tell you.
I have a feeling I know what Seth's answer is going to be, but I'm going to, what do you got, Seth?
Maybe I'll surprise you. How about Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero?
Oh, yeah.
If my husband was here, he'd applaud you.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of a fighting game, but it's also like a platformer, that's a cool idea. It just was not well done.
It's kind of like Double Dragon was a little bit like that too. It's like, hey, let's
Yeah.
have this great belt scroller and put platforming in there because screw you.
And it's got,
Oh, you think you're renting this in a weekend, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's got hilarious cutscenes, which, I'm all about. So.
Now, you mentioned you don't play games typically, so am I putting you on the spot here? We can certainly skip if that doesn't work for you.
We can skip, but I'll just tell you a little bit of back matter very, very quickly. Early on, I would do conversions for different games that were just these branching textual games. And I remember doing some for the Zork trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to sort of resurrect what the experience of playing
Yeah.
those games was
Yeah.
like and what it would look like with all these other kinds of assets and ideas poured into them. Maybe those already exist, I don't know.
Oh, well, actually, I would encourage you to explore the Inform 7 community, who have taken the old Z-Machine parsers and broken them to the point that anyone can script an Infocom text adventure now. I've written a couple myself. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Jerry, can I give you one more?
What's that?
Can I give you one more?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Quest 64.
Yeah.
Come on. I really wanted an RPG for the Nintendo 64, and that's
know,
all we
I
had.
know.
And if they just had a little bit more to the world, it would have been so awesome.
We are simpatico. I had this discussion with somebody a few months ago. I was the same advocacy. Like, I really think there's a good version of Quest 64 you could make.
Yeah.
I totally I honestly believe Quest 65 could be an amazing video.
Yeah. I
Where's
agree.
the other 64?
Someone out there make it happen, please.
Yeah, that's one that I actually really believe in. Moving on here, the last little bit. So, I am not fucking fooling around. I want your questions, but I've done so many of these shows now, and generally the questions are great, and then someone wants to tell a story. If you tell a story, I will chase you away. But if you have a question for one of the panelists or for all the panelists, one question, please. We have mics here. Go ahead, pop up, and I'll start calling on people if you're interested in asking anything.
I take singing requests.
Don't be
Okay,
shy.
Start with the first on this mic here.
Hello. So the limited run motto goes forever physical, and Zelda's Adventure is $1,000 on the market. I saw a lot of hands in the audience raise their hand when they said that they played the CDI games, but nobody could afford it, I assume. So I guess the preface, should I buy it?
Should you buy Zelda? Okay, I can tell you this. There is no universe, none. You know Doctor Strange in the 18 million versions? There is not that one where he holds it up in which Nintendo allows limited run games to publish either of these. If you are ever going to own them, you are going to steal them or buy them. Because we are not going to make them as much as we'd love to. That is the answer. Thank you. Over here.
So we were talking about the legacy of, the YouTube poops with Morshu and everything and all that. I guess my question is, have you guys seen the 83-hour video that is Morshu reading the entire Bible?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Not watched all 83 hours, though.
No, I have not seen that.
Neither.
That's amazing. Back to the side.
This is for the Arzette devs. In making Arzette, how are you able to come up with a new sort of game similar to the Zelda CDI games, but toe the line without getting into any trouble, like coming up with the elements that are like Zelda without being Zelda?
Yeah, you pick out the good parts and just put your own spin on it, really. Yeah.
And can I just say, I love the name Seedy. That's brilliant.
Little punny.
And the logo similar to the,
Very inspired.
Thank you. On over here.
That name offered in the original spirit of the game, I think.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I interrupted. I
fine,
apologize.
I
That was rude of me. No, interrupt me. I should have been looking at you. What do we have over here?
Have you had any luck tracking down any of the other voice actors, specifically Morshu?
I have moved heaven and earth trying to find that man. You can rest assured that if I have done this, then I would have found Morshu's voice actor. So, yeah, I can confirm he is not findable.
Damn.
On this side?
So as another Zelda's Adventure lover and sometimes speedrunner, I guess, is there any possibility we would see a sequel to Arzette in the style of Zelda's Adventure, or something along the lines of that?
Please purchase Arzette on arzette.com.
100%. Thank you.
You know, I do want to point that out. This is just the salesmanship part of me again, but limited run, obviously purveyor of physical goods, collectibles, etc. But also, Arzette is available digitally. We are publishing some games digitally now, and that's one of them. So if you missed the boat on the physical,
Please.
there's also the opportunity to buy the game digitally all over the places you could play it otherwise. So there's that. And you can also still pre-order the physical. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but if you do miss the boat. I'm just trying to boost the numbers on my side of the company. All right, let's see, where are we at?
Any personal favorite YouTube poops or other meme source for YouTube poops?
Dinner Blaster.
I love Magical Trevor.
Oh, everyone loves Magical Trevor because the things that he does are ever so clever. Look at him now, disappearing a cow. Where's the cow? It's
Headed
right
right
now. Taking a bow with Magical Trevor. Everyone has seen that the trick is clever. I can't remember the rest. It's been so long. My brother's middle name is Trevor, so I used to call him that.
I like the one with the explosion.
That
Oh,
doesn't narrow
wait,
it down.
It's all of them. Sorry, I don't. They all blend together. I could not tell you one from the other.
Let's go this side.
Out of all of the CDI games, so Hotel Mario, the Zelda games, which one is your favorite?
All the CDI games or those 4?
Like those 4 specifically.
You know, Hotel Mario, if it controlled a little better, would be a good video game.
Okay.
I would also second that.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else?
I like Wand of Gamelon.
Great game.
No comment.
Yeah, just to be different, I would say, I don't know, Laser Lords, was that a
That's
CDI?
Laser
Great
Lords
game.
is CDI,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Curious
yeah.
to see it.
Laser Lords is actually not bad. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Has Arzette been doing well?
I don't know. Publishing man, has Arzette been doing well?
I would consider Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, a commercial success.
Hell yeah!
So after this fiasco, Nintendo did license Legend of Zelda to Capcom many years later for 4 amazing handheld games. Have you played and do you like?
Oh, you're talking about the flagship games. Do we have Minish Cap? and
Minish Cap,
Spirit of-
Oracle of Seasons.
the Oracle games, yeah.
Ages.
Image?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oracle of Seasons, yeah.
Who are the fans here? I'd love to know.
Oh, yeah, I've played Minish Cap. I've 100% of that game. I love that game.
Yeah, they're great games.
Yeah. And I played Oracle of Seasons.
Seasons, yeah.
But not Ages. I didn't get a chance to play Ages.
They're all amazing. Licensed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think flagship games are Capcom at their finest, but also that's, they had more oversight too. Nintendo was actually involved in that process. It's kind of like the way
Right.
they use Retro Studios on Metroid Prime. Like they're no longer just letting a rogue team run off and do their own thing. That's definitely a little more control there. But yeah, I think Seasons is one of the best Zelda games.
Yeah.
Let's see, we're back over here.
So, do you think that any of the Philips CDI games are actually good?
That's a good question.
No.
What was the panel about?
Were any
No,
of the
no.
CDI games actually good?
Do I think they're actually good? No.
No.
Okay, final question on the side.
Going off the whole Morshu voice actor thing earlier, I feel like everyone focuses on him while forgetting about the real star of the show. We do know the King's voice actor. Did you try and get him for the game?
It's a complicated story.
Oh.
We'll tell it not here.
So we got about 2 minutes left. Yeah. First off, I want to thank all of you, those of you who named the true faithful. I wish I could give all of you a car like Oprah, but I don't have any cars. I do want to thank you very much. You could have done anything with this hour, and you chose to come hang out with this bunch of nerds. We're very thankful, honored. You allow us to do what we love for a living. Thank you for being fans of video games, this wonderful, wonderful art that is also a toy store. Headed down again, we'll start with Ash and move this way. What do you want to plug?
Hi, everyone. I stream on twitch.tv/AshSaidHi, and I play retro games, and I love video games, and I love Nintendo, and I am so glad to have been here on this panel, so thank you for having me.
I am Nadia Oxford of the Axe of the Blood God podcast. We talk about RPGs, old, new, Eastern, and Western. And I am also part of the Charlie and Dropouts Final Fantasy XIV podcast. We just had We just had an interview with Senna Breyer, who is the voice of. I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on my sexy lion goddess's voice. Wook Lamont. She's the voice of Wook Lamont. We had a great time. You should talk to her, or listen to us talk to her. Thank you.
I'm Seth Macy. I host the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast for IGN. We got some Ninfrendos in the house. Thank you guys for showing up. Obviously, follow me there. Follow me on Instagram at Seth G. Macy. And follow me on YouTube. If you like my IGN series, This Old Tech, where I repair broken old computers and video games, that's mine now. So come follow me. I think it's Seth G. Macy on YouTube also. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Hi, I'm Seth the Greater. I'm a developer. I made Arzette. Please go check out Arzette at arzette.com. I would very much appreciate it. Thank you all for coming by.
I'm Rob Dunlavey, and I was lucky enough to work in CDI before it became CDI. And I was even luckier to work with Seth and, by extension, limited run games. But just like Jeff here, the voice of Link, once that work on those original titles was done, I had a life, and a wonderful life, and I'm still having it, making art, illustrating children's books, doing all kinds of things like that. So there is life outside this room. I encourage you to waste some time in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's The Legend of Zelda, and it's really rad. Those creatures from Hyrule are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tektites, Levers too.
I can't believe that was a commercial.
With your help, our hero comes through. Woogie, woogie, woogush. Thank you very much for coming. Good night.